What's up, Chiefs Kingdom? Noah Gray here, tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to Josh's channel and check out showmefootball.com for more.
What is up, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome back to another video on my channel. My name is Josh Fann of showmefootball.com and arrowheadaddict.com, covering your Kansas City Chiefs. And folks, today I am joined by my good friend Michael D'Arcy of KC Sports Report. And we're going to talk about, Michael, the NFL disrespecting the Kansas City Chiefs once again, and more specifically, Patrick Mahomes. Now that the Chiefs had the 1 seed locked up, we can kind of have a little bit more fun with the topics that we talk about, less game coverage, less analyzing this, analyzing that. I want to talk about how the NFL is once again disrespecting Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. This time, Michael, by not considering Patrick Mahomes for the MVP award. Now, Michael, most fans might hear that and say, what are you talking about, Josh? Mahomes is not in the running for MVP this year. And I know that. And I agree. He's not going to win it, right? Like, we can all agree Patrick Mahomes isn't winning the MVP award this year. It's pretty clearly between Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. But I think it's a little ridiculous, Michael, that he's not at least getting consideration. And I'll tell you why. First of all, last year, Lamar Jackson was the 2023 MVP. It was a near unanimous MVP as well. He was one vote short of winning unanimous MVP for the second time in his career. Now, if you look at his stats from that season, that's Mahomes, but let's go to Lamar's real quick. So those are Lamar's stats, Michael, from his MVP season last year, in which he was nearly unanimous. 3,678 yards, 24 touchdowns. I believe that's 7 interceptions, 102.7 QBR. Now let's look at Patrick Mahomes. 2024, nearly 4,000 yards passing, 26 passing touchdowns. He also had 2 rushing, 11 interceptions, 93.5 QBR. Now, I know what people are going to say, Michael. Well, when you include the rushing stats, which I did, Mahomes only ends up being about 200 yards total short of Lamar Jackson's 2023 MVP season, and only 1 touchdown short of his 2023 MVP season. So again, Michael, we can all agree Patrick Mahomes is not winning the MVP award this year, but with those stats, when you look at the stats that Lamar had when he won his MVP last year, and then consider that Patrick Mahomes has very similar stats and his team is 15-1, and he's not even getting consideration, that just shows that there is now a voter bias, a voter fatigue when it comes to the Kansas City Chiefs because of so much success they had. Last year, when they gave Lamar the MVP, it's because they wanted to give the quarterback on the best team the MVP. And if we're going to use that same logic this time around, then there's no reason Mahomes shouldn't be in consideration. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. And I think if you just look at some of the MVP candidates that are currently out there, the 2 front runners are Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. And Josh Allen, I don't want to say had that award won, but was in the driver's seat to go out there and win it. He had a really bad performance against the Patriots, kind of had a Mahomes-esque early season game where they squeaked out a win against a division rival, but when they do it, it's fine. When the Chiefs do it, they're horrible. But it just seems like, Lamar Jackson, even though he's got 2 MVPs already, there's no voter fatigue. And maybe it's because they know the Ravens aren't very good and that they can't actually go win a Super Bowl because their defense is trash. And so they just feel the need to give Lamar Jackson another regular season accolade. I don't think that he should even be the choice over Josh Allen. But if he is the choice, how can you not compare Patrick Mahomes' numbers to, what his were last year? Because Patrick Mahomes has not had a good season by most statistical metrics. If you look at just how he started and all the interceptions.
Well, relative to his standards, this has been his worst statistical season, yet it's very, very close to the season Lamar had last year when he won MVP. And it just is like, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but it's like the standard for Mahomes has been set so high by himself that when he doesn't reach those, we exclude him from any sort of awards.
For Mahomes to win an MVP, it almost seems like he has to have like 45 touchdowns and 5,000 yards, which is insane because Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen are going to be nowhere close to that this season. But since the bar's lower with them, it just is. And you could tell that by the way that Lamar won it last year when he was not the best player in football. He was not the most valuable player in football. The Ravens happened to be the best team in football in the regular season, and he was the quarterback of that team. That is why he won the award. And I think that's why Josh Allen's case is hurting this year, is because they've looked rough at times, and he hasn't looked good over the last couple of weeks. And it almost seems, Josh, like the MVP has become an award where it's like, what do you do in the final month of the season, and how good is your team? If your team is really good, if you're fighting for a playoff spot or your division and you ball out, you've got a great chance of winning. Because what changed in 2 weeks that has Lamar Jackson leapfrogging Josh Allen?
Well, and I think, this could be a whole nother conversation just about the MVP award and how it's given out, but it should go to the most valuable player, right? Like the player in which, if you took him away from his team, how much worse did they get? I think, Michael, that would strengthen Patrick Mahomes' case if that's how we're really looking at it. If you take him away from the Kansas City Chiefs, what is their record? I don't think it's very good. I mean, they needed him to win every single one of those games in the regular season. Now, you want to argue that the Chiefs just kind of coast in the regular season, sure, but if we're just looking at this from a football perspective, what we're looking at on the field week in and week out, if the Chiefs don't have Patrick Mahomes, they don't win these games. And that's not to discredit the defense. That's not to discredit some of the players that have come in here like Kareem Hunt or Hollywood Brown or DeAndre Hopkins that have helped this team out. But Mahomes has had a really difficult left tackle situation. You could argue they had the worst left tackle situation in the league this year. He lost his wide receiver 1. He lost his wide receiver 2. He lost his starting running back, and they're 15-1. It just feels like there needs to be more talk about him when it comes to MVP. Yeah.
It just doesn't get better than that. And sorry, there was a little bit of a lag on my side, but I feel like we judge Mahomes on a level that is not fair to him, but also I think the NFL realizes that this Chiefs team is so good that if Mahomes won the MVP every year and won a Super Bowl MVP every year, I don't know if anyone would watch football. I don't know if anyone would watch the NFL, because it's just the same guy winning it year after year after year. And I think there's a very strong argument to be made that, everyone says that the Chiefs get lucky in these one-score games. But if you look at some of the one-score games that other teams have been on the other side of, like the Chicago Bears or the New York Giants or even the Las Vegas Raiders, they've been in just as many one-score games, except for they're on the losing side of that. And so if the Chiefs are horrible, why are we not giving Patrick Mahomes the 1 seed for winning so many of these close games when no one else seemingly can?
Yeah, I mean, I think that shows whether or not you're good when you look at your record in one-score games. Either you're good at finishing games or you're bad at finishing games. And the Chiefs were great at finishing games because they kind of have that championship pedigree, that championship mentality. They know that they can keep it close and still have the game come out in their favor. They're just good at doing that. They let teams hang around. Sometimes this is by design because they're just trying to make it through the regular season, but they can do that because they're good enough to do that, because Patrick Mahomes is good enough executing. It was a few weeks ago, or I think it was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers game, actually, in overtime, when they went to overtime, Michael. Everyone kind of crapped on them for their performance in that game. But when Mahomes had the ball in overtime and knew, like, hey, the game is over on this drive, I mean, he orchestrated it perfectly. That version of Mahomes is still there, even though people pretend that it's not.
Not only that, Josh Allen couldn't do this, could not, do what Patrick Mahomes does during the regular season and just kind of, not play up to their competition, but then execute at the perfect moment. Lamar Jackson absolutely could not do that. And I feel like it's the same song and dance every year, Josh. And there's a reason why before Patrick Mahomes won a Super Bowl in 2022 and the MVP in the same year, that it hadn't been done in like 20 years. And I think we're going to probably see the very same trend continue, that you can win the MVP in the regular season. That doesn't mean you're the most valuable player. That doesn't mean that you're playing better than some of the other quarterbacks. Like, I think Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, they're flashy players. They're going to put up a lot of stats, a lot of yards, a lot of touchdowns. And it's because they are needed to do that in order to win. They have to go out there and drop all of those stats for their team to squeak out wins, or I guess squeak out, for them to win games. And that's just not the case for the Chiefs. They've got so many different ways they can beat you. And Patrick Mahomes doesn't feel inclined to go, playoff Pat in week 10 against a horrible football team. There's just no need to do that. And so I feel like the NFL does not want to give this award to Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. And that's something that I mentioned, I think, on my show yesterday, that for all the people saying the NFL is rigged, for all the people that are saying that the NFL, has the Chiefs in special favor and that the Chiefs are the special darling of the NFL, it is worse for the NFL that the Chiefs keep winning. It is bad for their league that Patrick Mahomes is trying to three-peat. There's no parity right now because there's one team that is running the show, and it is the Kansas City Chiefs. It is bad for the brand of the NFL that the Chiefs keep winning like this.
Yeah, I just kind of question and I agree with you completely. But kind of reeling it back into the MVP conversation. So it seems like there's a kind of a voter fatigue or just a general fatigue of the Kansas City Chiefs when it comes to awards. But why not for Lamar Jackson when it comes to the MVP award? Because, talking about narratives and stuff like that, Lamar, if he wins this one, it would be his third, right? And that would actually give him more than Patrick Mahomes. Now, they don't have any of the Super Bowls, and that's what matters, right? And Mahomes hasn't beaten that category. But it just seems wrong that Lamar would have more MVPs than Patrick Mahomes because he really did not deserve the second one at all, in my opinion.
No, and it's almost like the NFL is doing their best to say, hey, guys,
rival.
We have someone that can compete with Patrick Mahomes. We have someone that could go toe-to-toe when come playoff time. It has been proven historically that he cannot, whether that's Josh Allen or, Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson had maybe the best team that he's ever going to have last year, and they won one playoff game. The Chiefs came into their trap, and they took it over. It's just like – yeah.
No,
the NFL wants other quarterbacks to be like Pat, but no one's like Pat.
Well, and I think Josh Allen should get it. That's who I would vote for MVP if I gave it to him. That's what I was going to ask you next. But
sorry
the thing,
to jump.
No, you're good. But it's like with Lamar, they try to make him a rival of Patrick Mahomes, and he just has not played well in the playoffs. Josh Allen has actually played well in the playoffs against Patrick Mahomes. It's just that Patrick Mahomes is always that little bit better, and that's what allows them to win games. Lamar is nowhere close to Mahomes, in my opinion. I think Josh Allen is much closer than Lamar Jackson, and I think he is more valuable to his team than Lamar, because you were kind of talking about how some of those guys, they need to be good for their team to win games. I was watching that game on Christmas Day, Michael, Ravens versus Texans. They were letting Lamar stat pad in that game after the Texans were already getting blown out. Josh Allen doesn't necessarily get to do that as much because this was kind of a reset year, or soft reset year for the Buffalo Bills. This was kind of their version of the Chiefs season after they traded Tyreek Hill. They were doing some retooling. They cut some players that, were very expensive, getting older, and they really did not skip a beat. And I think a lot of it was because of Josh Allen's heroics this year. So I think he's the MVP, but Mahomes definitely should be in consideration because of everything we just mentioned.
I agree. And honestly, when I look at that Buffalo Bills team, and I haven't watched a ton of Buffalo Bills tape, I have watched some of their games, but most of the time I'm just focused on the Chiefs. But in the games that I have watched, they're eerily similar to that 2018 Chiefs team where that offense was just electric. They could go up and down the field. They could score in a second, but that defense was a problem. And I feel like the Bills are almost ahead of schedule in a sense that this was supposed to be a retool year. This was supposed to be let's just stay afloat, try to get some guys healthy, try to get some guys back. Let's see what they could do. But they're not a team that is all in right now. I would say that Baltimore is all in. And I don't think that Buffalo's defense is going to lend them any favors in the playoffs because they can't stop anybody. They're horrible.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see. These are two teams that we will probably end up seeing in the postseason. And I think, Michael, not to reveal our picks or anything, but we're pretty confident that Mahomes is going to end up coming out on top once again.
You can't bet against 15. Won't, and I will not.
Yeah, but it seems like everyone who votes for the NFL MVP award is, but I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up this video right there. So I appreciate all you guys tuning in. This conversation was a lot of fun. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe so more Chiefs fans can find this. Let us know down in the comments, do you think Patrick Mahomes should be getting more consideration for the MVP award? Curious what you guys think about this. But before we sign off, Michael, where can the people find you?
You guys can find me on YouTube at KC Sports Report. That's kind of the one-stop shop for everything that I do. We're like 50 subscribers away from 11,000. So if you guys are watching Josh's channel and you haven't hit the like button and subscribed to his channel yet, do that and then come over to my channel. You can check out what we've got going on over there.
Absolutely do all of that, and I will put Michael's stuff down in the description below as always. But that is it from us, guys. So one more time, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. We'll see you guys in the next one. And as always, go Chiefs.